Hey everybody, welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about commercial breaks in video games and how streaming affects RPGs. It's going to be a good one because we have Adie, EposVox on the show. Adie, how are you doing?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing all right as well. Yeah. You know what? I was just telling you, I feel like it's coming. I did SGF. Will got sick. I feel like I might be picking something up. It could be allergies as well. And I'm just like looking for an excuse to not have to deal with that. But all things considered, got through this week after a long SGF and feeling pretty good, ready for a little bit of a weekend and to take it easy. Although I think I'm going to be getting ready for a garage sale and a trip and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to be keeping myself busy.
Yeah.
But yeah. How's like things going for you as we get into summer?
I'm pretty good. Summer's been kicking my butt in a million ways. As you were just getting sick, I'm just getting sick and trying to keep up. And it's been too hot already to go outside, and it's only June. So.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I'm feeling it as well. I go out there. It's like I was complaining in LA when it was like 75, and that felt like really weak. But yeah, it's like 80 here now, and I can't handle it. But yeah, Adie, you've got some stuff going on, man. You showed me something really cool that you like. It's out there. People can find this thing, so you should tell people about what you got happening.
So I have proofs here. I don't have the actual thing yet. I grew up watching this industry, being like, hey, I'm gonna go to school and then I'm gonna go write for gaming magazines, because as a kid,
like we all did.
Yeah, and you assume anything can be a job, and once it's a job, it stays a job. And then I got to college, and everyone asked, "What's paper?"
Mm-hmm.
And so I led the whole video thing. And then by the time I finished college, most of the video jobs were already gone as well. So I did my own thing for a bit. Now I'm like, what if I just did a gaming magazine anyway? So I'm calling it Jam Packed, which is kind of playing on both a live show kind of like this and a video series I did for a little while. I have a proof of the cover.
I love this, man. It looks so good.
I am very heavily, like with all of my aesthetics and whatever, very gaming magazine pilled, like whether it's Game Informers or PC Gamers or EGMs or whatever. Like I lived in this stuff. And so I am specifically, like I had to learn a new program for this because I'm trying to move away from Adobe. So I'm doing it all in Affinity, but like in the design down, I have reviews of like the goal is, even though Pragmata's on the cover and it's a Capcom game, but like the goal is to not just be like, here's all the games everyone else always talks about for the year.
Right.
It's going to be stuff that might get overlooked or might be like more hidden gems kind of thing. And so like my biggest review, and the one I wanted on the cover, was for Luna Abyss. It's a Doom / Returnal like, although it's kind of shallower in that regard, from Quali Labs, who made Don't Stop Killing Pop and a couple other games. The problem is I am a stickler for print quality. Like the design aspect is like my favorite part, and there are not any assets for Luna Abyss that I can get that are acceptable to put on the cover of a magazine. I emailed them and been like, yo, I want to put your game on a magazine. Never heard back. Well,
hey, make it happen, Luna Abyss people. Come watch this and figure it out. Okay. So one thing I want to call out is I'm super happy Game Informer is back, but their covers are very Game Informer style, which was always like, hey, we have one big awesome picture of the game. I love that yours looks like old 90s video game magazines.
I want it to look like the food trucks at your local night market that just have all the like
slap shit on there. Yeah.
Here's Halo 3 Recon, as it was, Game Informer, where it's just like, okay, here's our title game, but I want the Game Pro, where it's like we have a bunch of different text, or like here's Final Fantasy and Okami and whatever. Like I want it busy, overstimulating.
Like yeah, exactly. That's what I grew up on. I would like the magazine still found a way to like, overload my prefrontal cortex, and I always really appreciate that. So I mean, again, man, it looks really good. It's a going concern, right? You got a Patreon for this and stuff. Like, what does that look like?
So at the moment, this was a harebrained summer project idea. You're gonna laugh because the thing that put me over the edge to actually finally do it was the idea that for the summer issue, because I want it to be seasonal. I can't do monthly. Like it's so much work.
Of course.
Like, no way.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it seasonally, and I was like, I have all the stuff. Like a lot of the things I sell in my shop are like handmade. Like I print at home. The magazine will be printed at a print shop, but like my normal zines and like stuff I print, make at home at the scale that I typically sell at. That's fine. And I was like, I have the stuff. What if I did a summer, instead of the summer reading like Pizza Hut program, I did a summer gaming program, had like 5 categories of games. And then you could get, I have a sticker a bunch of people have been wanting that's like designed after a PS2 memory card, and then a pin that I don't know what it's going to say yet, but I'm like, you can send in and get this, and it's going to be dumb. Like 5 people will care about it, but it brings back that nostalgia. And I was like,
yeah,
I need a magazine for this. And so I had already been wanting to do this. And so it is available on my shop. If I can plug it, glitch.mov/jampacked with no E in the thing. I will send you a link. I initially it's just orders just for this issue because I got to get print quantity and everything. If that pans out, then yeah, I'm gonna spin it into a Patreon, and it's gonna be the kind where like you only pay when the issue comes out, so I'm not just siphoning money until the next issue comes.
Sure.
I want to do it responsibly because while money is always important, I'm not here to just. The big thing, I had a couple people already being like, all right, so I'm considering switching from Game Informer to this. What do you have to offer over them? And I'm like,
no, I'm not
going to have the staff.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hire people that I have to lay off in 3 months like IGN just did. It's just going to be my passion, my degree and expertise, and applied arts and writing skills. And so if you're interested in different perspectives on games and games you may not see covered everywhere else, that's the pitch. And if you don't, that's fine, because I'm doing it for me, if nothing else.
Well, I'm super into it. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess people should check out the store for sure. We'll get the link in the chat and in the description. Yeah, there it is right there. Rich Bad at Games has it in the Twitch chat. Thank you. But yeah, really cool stuff, man. I'm into it. All right, let's go ahead and start talking about this show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're Giant Bomb. Go to giantbomb.com/join to become a premium member. If you do so, you're going to be supporting independent games media. You're going to be getting premium shows that are exclusive only to premium members. You get ad-free versions of our shows. And like I said, yeah, you're going to be supporting us and making sure we can keep doing what we want to do over here, which is super important. We're very thankful to everyone who has come through and supported us. We really appreciate it. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with more weirdness out of Xbox. The new Xbox exec clarifies his recent comments about in-game ads. This is from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Xbox Chief Strategy Officer Matthew Ball, who's very new to that job, has clarified comments he made about in-game ads. He set the record straight, saying he was responding to comments he made prior to joining Xbox, and that his comments do not necessarily reflect Microsoft's plans or beliefs. What I do say is that ads should be used to offer more affordable alternatives alongside today's ad-free experiences, in the hopes more could play as a result. Similar to how Netflix and Disney Plus have ad tiers that with all the same content, but at half the price or so. At no point do I ever mention in-game ads. I personally believe interrupting the gameplay experience would be bad. There's an original story there, but that's kind of the crux of it. I think like they already have ads all over these platforms, so it's like I guess the question is like, what does that really look like? I suppose maybe still ads that play for 2 to 3 minutes before a game boots up is maybe what he's still getting at. But as he says, this was not made like while he was under the Microsoft banner, and yet we know that these platforms consider these things all the time, right, Adie?
Yeah, this is not entirely anything new, but I think everyone's way quicker on the reaction button to this sort of thing because we're already so drowning in it that it's just like the idea that they're gonna squeeze even a little drop more. It's just like I got nothing left to give.
Yeah, it's and this guy, I think, you know, is starting to seem like, oh man, where did he come from? What is his sort of aim? I'm still early, like looking into Matthew Ball, but yeah, it definitely seems from that side of things of, hey, we could be putting more monetization into everything. And, you know, that like the nickel and diming is something that we're seeing across the industry. That is not something exclusive to Microsoft at all. I think Sony right now is definitely trying to find every way to monetize their current user. That's literally what they're chief financial officer said a few earnings calls ago, where it's like, hey, we're not going to be growing the business in a huge way necessarily, but we do have plenty of ways to make more money from the people we already have. That's not the long-term solution. The long-term solution is to get more people playing games and to make cool games that the wider audiences can't ignore. And it just does not feel like that is on the tip of the tongues of these executives a lot of the time. Adie, and is that just because they are looking at the numbers and they don't believe in gaming, or what?
I do think that's a part of it. Like, they are brought in to solve the money problem. They come from backgrounds that aren't always gaming specific, or where their roles have not been in the creative or the art side of it or whatever. And that is their strategy. I do question how you jump in and say something and then say, yeah, the things I said don't represent what Xbox is doing. Like, that is your role now. That is all it is. But at the same time, I like to look at it because I've been very, very anti-Windows these days. We have seen over the past 5 or so years that Microsoft can be trusted specifically to not preserve the experience of the product over the advertising and monetization. And a lot of people jump to like, okay, there was a Burnout game or a Tom Clancy game with billboard ads, and that was fine. It's whatever. But like, I don't think we can trust them to even maintain that level of like smooth integration anymore. We look at their other products, the way they have shoehorned this in, and I don't think many of us see a path where they do this smoothly, I guess. And so I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that, where it's like, I think we could trust them to always kind of eventually make the worst choice. Like, like especially if if they see more money on the other side. That is the one thing they've proven to us over and over again. It's, again, not exclusive to this company, but they seem especially good at it for a company that's already worth more than $2 trillion. It's, and I know they would argue that's how they got that way, but I think you actually got that way by making a product that people cannot help but use. And it would be nice if like that was like, I don't know. It's hard not to compare like companies like this to companies that we know have like good policies, right? Like Costco being like, hey, our main goal is to make sure our customers taken care of, to the point where we have like run a secret program for investigating food safety at companies that we like use one product of, but when we go there, we investigate all their products to make sure they're all safe. And apparently Costco does like 40% of all food inspections. And they don't get like headlines for that. Right. And it's like, okay, that's the kind of thing where like they're doing that because that's their mission. What's Microsoft's mission?
I want to see.
It's lost.
I want to see a Microsoft executive's email where they say, if you raise the price of Halo, for example, I will literally murder you.
Yes, exactly. CEO said Where's that guy? Yeah, that guy does not work at Microsoft. Absolutely.
It felt like in the early days, Phil Spencer was that guy. I think he wanted that image.
He wanted it. Yes.
I don't think he maintained that image for very long. I think something like the backwards compatibility program, that was kind of his moment for that. And then as they transitioned to the new consoles and deprioritized all that, like, it really just kind of felt like he was there to spend money and run away.
Yep. It like he just like kind of got subsumed by that machine. And definitely spent a lot of money. I mean, look, the Microsoft's and Xbox's problems are real. They do have to make some changes. It's just, I say it all the time, excuse me, that like if your first like inclination as an executive in this business is not, let's make the games that people want to play so we could solve our problems, I just think you're onto something that is going to lead to a worse industry. And that's been proven kind of over and over again.
Yeah. At what point do we get away from assuming we have the market share for the sake of it versus selling the products? Like, the early Xbox branding was so much about, please take us seriously as the weird console.
Right.
Now they're just like, yeah, you all love us, so whatever. And I'm just waiting for the next comment to be like, if you want a console without advertising, we have those. It's the Xbox 360.
Don Matrick pops out of a grave or whatever. Yeah, so he's back.
I do want to shout out a post from presumably friend of the show, Jeff Gersman, who he pointed out the contradiction of so many of these Microsoft problems are Microsoft-made problems. And trying to work out from underneath Microsoft's problems while you are Microsoft is just like not a winning strategy.
I mean, it's so, and that circular reasoning, which is real, is so huge, where it is the entire economy that Microsoft has produced from their decisions, and escaping that is impossible, right? It's like they've buried themselves under that, just like everyone else has, and now they have to deal with it. And the hardware's 5 times more expensive. we know who to blame for that, and it's crazy that does not come up when you have that internal memo.
Right.
But here we are. All right, let's stick with Microsoft just for a second with a kind of a PSA sort of thing. Xbox says some Forza Horizon 6 players are losing their save files. Basically, they offer some advice to how to deal with this if this happens to you. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Xbox says it's aware of an issue in Forza Horizon 6 where some players have been losing their save files. In a post on the official Forza support page, the game's development team says it's investigating an issue impacting some Forza 6 Horizon players where game save progress may be lost or reset. Basically, it says if this happens, don't start a new file, just immediately go to the support page and start dealing with that. And they have like a list of things here that you could try to do to make sure that you could save yourself. Ensure your gaming services app or PC on Xbox or on PC or on Xbox Series X and S is fully up to date. On the consoles, disable Quick Resume for Forza Horizon 6. Disable Forza Horizon 6 from using Quick Resume to highlight the game box art. There's basically an explanation here about how to actually make that happen. Ensure you are online when quitting the game. Give your save time to sync to the cloud before powering off or switching the device off. Do not force quit the game during save screens. I mean, those ones are just like, yeah, you should know better.
They tell you that as soon as you boot the game. They're like, here's the save icon. Don't turn off.
Someone, I can't remember who it was. Chat, help me find this. Someone did like an investigative story of like, I tried to turn off my console or my PC during a save in like 50 games. Here's what happened. Yeah. That was good stuff. But yeah, basically just there's a bunch of basic things you could do here to try to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. But yeah, if it does, don't start a new save. Reach out to Xbox. They might be able to save your file. That's a weird one, though. That I guess this is one of those ones where Forza Horizon 6 is so popular that this is probably not that widespread of an issue, but because so many people are playing it, it probably is a little bit bigger than it would be otherwise. Does that seem right, Adie?
Yeah, that's what I'm imagining. It's one of those 1% of a bigger pool could be a lot of people, but in reality, it's probably a weird quirk. I miss the days when, your memory card would just decide to wipe itself, and
yes, just do its own thing.
There's nothing you could do about it.
Yep. Yeah, there was no one to call in that situation. Yeah. You could try a priest or something, but no way. All right, let's see here. Nintendo temporarily suspends sales of the multi-region Switch 2 in Japan after suspected hoarding. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. It seems like arbitrage selling has come for this thing in a hard way. Nintendo has temporarily suspended sales of its multi-region Switch 2 in Japan after suspecting some users of hoarding. Unlike other regions, Japan has two different versions of the Switch 2 hardware, a Japanese domestic-only version and a multilingual version. The Japan-only version, which is by far the most widely available version and the only one available to purchase from general retailers, only has Japanese as the console's language setting. And the only Nintendo accounts that can be linked to it are those that are set to the Japan country region. The multilingual version, meanwhile, works like Switch 2 consoles everywhere else, and it sells for the equivalent of like $435, which is right there in that meaty part of the bell curve, Adie, where it's like, oh, if I'm an arbitrage seller and I can get this thing for $435, and even better, if I could get like 50 of them at $435 each, suddenly the economy of scale for me as a scalper, as an arbitrage seller, it makes a lot more sense where I could then take all of those, ship them in bulk to another place where this thing is selling for much more, $500 to $550, depending on the region. Well, that's just cash in my pocket. Now, for the people in those other regions, getting a cheap Switch 2, this is a good thing. That's nice when people do that. Now, for Japan, it's a little bit less, but they also have the Japanese only model. So it's not like, for me, it's like, I'm not like super like, oh, this is one where we really got to get the scalpers. But of course, it is, Nintendo does want to do stuff like this. It is just weird because it's like, you don't hear companies doing a lot about this in general scalping situations. This one's like, I'm not seeing too many people harmed necessarily because the Japanese audience has a much cheaper option than this already. So it's not like they're going to be hurt if this thing is not readily available.
It's funny how much we can regress in terms of gaming features. This is turning into the like unlocked phone situation again, where for a while we had basically full region free everything, and because of current times, someone brought up in chat like this is bad for non-native Japanese speakers who may be living in Japan but need the flexibility of multi-language support. I could see that being a pretty big problem. I these kinds of things are like always like they could be a really big deal for the like 2-year time span when things are awkward, but like big picture doesn't really harm the scene.
This is very much a story from when times are weird.
Yeah, it's cool to see companies at least sort of trying to take on scalpers. I have to be the sicko that has typically tried to get every one of the Halo pre-order statues, and Xbox put up the collector's edition Halo 2 with 0 scalper protections whatsoever. It sold out in like 2 hours, and now they've just straight up removed it from the site and probably will not be putting it back up.
Oof.
And it's just like they didn't even limit how many you could have in your cart, like just none of it. And it's just like basic thinking about these things, but also to the company, like the question always comes, does it matter to the company if they sell the units? Especially if you're a company that's desperate to move units right now.
Yeah. It's like exactly like and it's like obviously the reasoning here, Adie, I think would be, well, Nintendo cares deeply about making sure that the Japanese domestic audience is taken care of. Like that is, they actually do sell a ton of games in Japan, more than anyone else does. Yeah. And make sure that audience feels good about Nintendo is probably very crucial to them. So they will make things move when that happens. The things that are moving here, they did just like put a couple of safeguards in place. In order to deliver the product to more customers, we will now be selling it only to customers who meet the following conditions. And then they said, we appreciate your understanding. Players will only be able to buy a multilingual Switch 2 if their total Switch playtime was 50 hours or more by the end of May 31st. If they meet this condition, they will be able to buy only one multilingual console. This purchase limit includes any they may have already purchased. So it's like a lifetime, one per account. And again, you can't get this at general retailers. You can only get it through Nintendo. So they can put this gate in place. And say, okay, yeah, I see it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty neat like barrier to have, especially for, like you said, it's directly through them. So they have your Nintendo account information. I normally get kind of irked by that kind of thing because I'm like, well, that limits people getting in for the first time, whatever. But realistically, I'm going to be the cynical person of there's only like 3 Switch 2 games that you're going to play. So ideally, if you're buying one, you've already had a Switch in the first place, or you can wait a little longer. Like, I think like there's so many worse ways to handle that, and that's like really clever in that, like you said, they're trying to make sure they are taking care of their people and their people that are their players, and especially like if it's families or whatever, like you're gonna have a household console that has those hours. 50 hours is nothing over the 10-year lifespan of the Switch, so like easy. So
and there's all kinds of reasons why the Japanese audience would want this. For one thing, you could be an expat living in Japan and you want to play Nintendo games and you want to play it in your home language, and that's fair. And maybe you want to have your kids growing up multilingual. Well, here's a system to do that. Like there's and they should not have to like have to navigate the weirdness that is the global economy to get to these things that was meant for them in the first place. And Nintendo seems to be living up to that side of it.
It is funny to roll from that to September 1st. The US Switch 2 will be going up another $50 from $449 to $499, making that multilingual version that much more desirable. But
man, that it's so weird that like that was announced so early. I guess they were just like, I mean, because they did go up faster in other territories, but man, we're still like 3 months away from that. So I'm like looking at the count, like for all of June, all of July, all of August. So yeah, I guess they're just like during the summer. It's not when people necessarily buying hardware. I guess I don't know the reasoning actually, Adie. It just still was like weird to me. But I mean, they're still going to keep selling a lot of Switches through the summer because people know that price increase is coming, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where instead of holding off for the holidays, people may be buying it ahead of time and just stashing it in closets or whatever.
Yes, yeah, good point. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, plenty of more headlines to get into. If you want to skip out on these, there's a way to do that at giantbomb.com/join. We'll be right back. All right, we're back for Game Mess Mornings. That's EposVox. I'm Jeff Grubb. Let's get into the headlines again with actually a couple of stories that are a little bit related, but let's do them one at a time here. Grid Legends servers will shut down on PlayStation and Xbox later this year. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. EA has announced that the online servers for Grid Legends will shut down later this year. Developed by Codemasters, Grid Legends was released in February 2022 and included a story mode called Driven to Glory, which featured live-action cutscenes. As spotted by delisted games, EA has updated its online services shutdown page, which lists all the games that have had their servers shut down over the years. The newly updated list has now added Grid Legends, which will be turned off on September 11th, according to EA. No further information has been added yet, but it's likely that this will mean online multiplayer will no longer be available, but single-player content may still be accessible. So this is not necessarily a stop-killing game situation. The stop-killing game situation is usually like, give us a way to keep playing something that we bought here, although, of course, even finding ways to keep online servers available, which there are ways to do that, would always be nice. Weird thing here, weird wrinkle. This is shutting down on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5, but a Switch 2 version just launched in January, a deluxe edition. That will still be going. So I guess if you just bought this game for Switch 2, you don't have to feel like it's going to disappear suddenly. But yeah, I mean, it's always a bummer, without fail, when servers go offline for any game. Adie, how do you feel about this one?
It's one of those situations where like I haven't played, but also like it sucks, especially the game's only 4 years old. That is not very long. I'm still playing games from 98 online, or Unreal 2004. Like it's so heartbreaking to just see. It felt like it was only like a small bubble of like the 2010s games that were getting cut offline, and it felt like we had this void of like all the games before are still playable and games after will be playable, but that bubble keeps like extending. I don't know whether any sort of regulation could fix it, but I would love to see just an adopted practice of, here's how you host a private server for this thing, or a peer-to-peer server for this thing, so that when it goes offline, you can just play. Like, what why? Like, the only arguments against that involve the studio or the publisher taking ownership of it, which goes away if you're so quick to abandon it. And yeah, it's got to feel super weird for anyone buying it this year on Switch 2 to see the other versions going down. I'm assuming that means it didn't have any sort of crossplay, but like you would hope that as we're moving to this crossplay kind of utopia, that if they have a new version coming out, that's a new player base. You don't want to just cut off the rest of them. It's always a bummer.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing where like I think you got it. I think you nailed it. Where it's like if this thing's going to be around for only 4 years ish, like maybe the regulation should be somewhere around that time where it's like, hey, if you can't support a game for 5, maybe 10 years with online support that you're selling with online support, well, then you need to have a trapdoor in there that when you do shut down the servers or the servers go offline for whatever reason, issues, there's a peer-to-peer backup that just sort of kicks into place. That like the stuff that indie games use all the time to make sure that they have online multiplayer that is like very, very little lift, so you can't start coming back at us with all these cost arguments. That just seems like fair regulation at this point to me. This big industry.
Yeah. We have been conditioned to treat game releases as like single feature products now, whether it's a multiplayer only free-to-play game or a story game. I think back to when we had our $60, you got your story mode, you got either a good multiplayer mode you expected or a weird experimental shoehorned in one that you're like, why did they do this? But hey, this is kind of cool for a few hours. Yeah. You got a bonus mode like a horde mode or a minigame mode or whatever, and then some extra stuff. Those were all considered features that you paid for. And so like it's like with Grid Legends, it's like, great, I'm glad, presumably, the game will still be playable solo offline, and that's the main reason people probably buy it.
Yes. Also,
you paid for this feature. It should be available in some, like, that should just be the baseline on principle. And it's hard to not just feel defeated, because it's like, why would I buy a game that has, like, with that feature in mind, knowing that it has a very short shelf life? Especially as someone who is super slow to get the games, I'm not going to buy a game and immediately be in the multiplayer mode day one. Like, it's going to be a couple years before I check that out, thinking that it's just going to be gone. It's like, why would I even buy it?
Yep, that's especially frustrating, because you want this marketplace to be friendly to people who want to wait and want to find deals, and it's not a lot of times because of reasons like this. Yeah. If the last one bummed you out, well, this next one should make you mad. Kingdom Hearts cloud versions shut down today, and you'll have to buy new versions to keep playing. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. Prior to this week, the only options that Switch owners had to play the Kingdom Hearts franchise was via the cloud versions offered by Square Enix. However, with the new Switch and Switch 2 versions on the horizon, Square Enix has announced that Kingdom Hearts Switch cloud versions are being delisted. The following titles will be affected by the decision and will become unplayable after today, June 9th. That's a couple days ago now. Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix Cloud version, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, Kingdom Hearts 3 plus Remind DLC, and then Kingdom Hearts Integrum Masterpiece Cloud version. They're all cloud versions. Separately, those game collections ranged from $40 to $50, while Kingdom Hearts Integrum Masterpiece brought them all together for $90. The newly announced digital versions of Kingdom Hearts HD plus, 1.5, basically all the games that are replacing here, you can get those if you already have this game at a 50% discount. But what are you talking about? They already bought this game, and now you're making it so they can't play it anymore the way that they bought it. You have an alternative way for them to play it. Why can't we just make this make sense, Addy? This one drives me nuts.
Yeah, I don't see how this doesn't end in some sort of lawsuit, at least in Europe where they have better consumer protections. Like, you can't just take away the product and say, here's 50% towards rebuying the same product. Also, is the new version actually, I thought the new versions were only Switch 2. Are they on original Switch as well?
They're only on wait, Kingdom Hearts I think one of these might be Switch and Switch 2.
Okay. It just feels like you're just getting completely, like, there's at least precedent for that to be like not okay, and like some sort of consequences for that. And the consequence is going to be, okay, here's your game key, like 6 months later after people have already bought it, and like because they felt like they had no choice. Like, that's just, I get not wanting to support the servers if they have a physical version now, but like that's just
yeah. And like, as Kane Highland points out, it's a third-party company that runs these cloud versions on Nintendo Switch. It was Ubisoft, I want to say. And so, yeah, I'm sure they had a deal there where it's like, we keep paying you keep the game running and all this stuff. Or maybe it's like you got some split of the money when we sold the game originally. I doubt that's the way it works. But the point is, we don't know how it works, but there is some business relationship there. Regardless, if Ubisoft is like, hey, we're pulling the plug on this, maybe we're going out of business or something, whatever, like it could be extreme like that. Square Enix has the solution for the people it sold this game to. And it could implement some way of upgrading those people to this other version.
Right.
I mean, clearly they know who those people are. They're offering them a 50% discount.
Right. Like, yeah, they can just swap out the game. There's been plenty of precedent for that. Like, every time there's been plenty of games that have gotten like a Game of the Year edition or whatever, and it's at least on Steam and most console platforms, it's like it's just automatically added to your account. You have to switch over, and that could be a pain, but like, just have it. Like,
yeah, I mean, even if it is like, okay, you're going from Switch 1 to Switch 2 for some of these, and it's not really how it worked. It was always in the cloud, but whatever. Yeah. It like a minimum sort of upgrade fee would be preferable to 50% off, like $5 at most or something like that. So those people could just have it in their library waiting for them. If they don't have a Switch 2 yet, they should still have ownership over these games, and it still should have access to them one way or another. So yeah, just very, very frustrating to see this. And it feels like they could have came up with a better solution than what they did here. And they're just not.
Virtually any solution would have been better.
Yeah.
Like, literally anything.
Anything, absolutely. All right, 2K and FIFA came close to an agreement on a game before talks broke down. This is from Mike Straw at Insider Gaming. How close did FIFA and 2K come to signing a deal for a brand new simulation soccer game? According to a new report, the ball was nearly over the goal line. According to Sports Gamers Online, talks between FIFA and 2K, quote, progressed to the point where both sides were negotiating contract terms, licensing agreements, and potential game modes. SGO sources claim that 2K was looking for a 10-year licensing deal that includes rights to the FIFA World Cup, along with the FIFA Pro license for clubs and players. Modes pitched included an ownership mode, blah, blah, blah. Talks eventually broke down due to FIFA's desire for faster, more profitable opportunities. FIFA wanted to capitalize, per the report, on the World Cup, which is happening now, which included the new FIFA World Cup launch edition with Netflix. Undisputed Future. Sorry, this is a little mistake here in the copy paste. A possible FIFA 2K game has been known for a while, but talks dating back years, but it just seems like when they got to this point and they were about to make things happen, FIFA looked around and was like, "Can you get something out right in time for the World Cup?" And 2K is like, "Well, no, we're not going to be able to do that, but there's another one coming. Did you know that? And we'll be ready. We'll be ready for that. We're going to do this for 10 years." And FIFA kind of balked at that. And we know FIFA to be a very well-run organization, Adie. Just nothing but good things to say about that non-profit, which is a crazy thing that's true about them, or that they, obviously claim to be true about them. Yeah, I'm not surprised that things broke down. FIFA always seemed like a skittish company that just doesn't actually know its mouth from its asshole.
That is quite the way to put that. Yes.
Yep. Yep.
I got nothing to add. Yep. I don't understand the current lack of patience in the gaming industry, because we've reached the point where, like, it's officially a mature market. There's a whole lot of conversation about that, and yet everyone seems convinced, I guess, that you can only make money if you're willing to do something in the next year, and otherwise nothing else matters. And
yep.
I feel like, if anything, you can look back at how bootstrapped and like duct tape held together the game industry was for the first 20 or 30 years and be like, okay, we can make some good long plays here. And no one that I can't imagine being like, yeah, can we turn around a game for the World Cup and expecting, it's a recurring event.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We could do something pretty quickly afterwards, probably, and then sort of build up to the next World Cup. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But I mean, and really, it's like you could have just built in like options so that they still could have done this thing with Netflix, and 2K could have been like, all right, well, then we'll pay a little bit less or something. And they just couldn't make those things meet. So mostly interesting just because it would be nice to have competition back in this space where there's two big, or maybe even three at this point, because I guess eFootball still counts from Konami. But having three big major soccer games across the world would be nice, but that's not where we're at. All right. The Final Fantasy VII Revelation director calls streaming a crisis for linear RPGs. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The director of Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy says modern RPGs need to feature more player agency to discourage players from choosing to watch streams instead. In an interview with 4Gamer, Naoki Hamaguchi explained that these days, if an RPG simply has the player following a predetermined path without much scope to change it, the experience will be the same for everyone. As such, he argued some players will be happy enough just watching an influencer playing the game on a stream instead of buying it. One thing RPGs like Final Fantasy need to be careful about today is the possibility that people might simply watch a stream and feel satisfied without ever playing the game themselves, Hamaguchi said. And then he went on to say, this is a bit of a crisis for the work itself, or rather, it's not something game creators can wholeheartedly celebrate. Adie, you're the stream professor. You know how people are on Twitch, and you know kind of how audiences work. Does this sound right to you?
I think they got to the core of this crisis about 10 years too late.
Yes.
This conversation had already been played out in 2016 when people were first hearing about Twitch. I realize I'm saying this realizing that, yes, the remakes diverge from the original games, but it is very hilarious talking about this in terms of a 10-year project, 3-part remake of a game that came out 20 years ago and has already been played to death.
Uh-huh.
So context-wise, on top of being late to the party on this, is just really hilarious to me, because if you haven't had Final Fantasy VII spoiled for you already, whatever. But yeah, it's a problem, and yeah, games should be a little less linear. Having grown up, not being around a whole lot of Final Fantasy, and the first one I tried to play was 13, where you literally walked in a straight line for most of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. But also, I think the focus doesn't... Sure, for RPGs, there's a lot that could be said about player agency and things like that. Final Fantasy is not the kind of RPG where you have, you're not building your own characters and stuff in the same degree like you would with, say, a Fable or Skyrim or Cyberpunk or whatever. I don't think it's a crisis by any stretch. Yeah, it's a problem. You lose sales that way.
Right.
There's also a lot of, it's hard because there aren't a lot of formal studies, but there's a lot of at least anecdotal evidence and data that makes it clear that the people who are watching streams are never actually like it's like the piracy argument. Very few of those people are actually doing that in place of the sale.
Yeah, maybe not a ton of overlap, right?
Yeah, like it's exposing the game to more people, and there is a handful of those that are doing that instead of buying the game, and that sucks. But most of them would have just not bought the game in the first place.
I mean,
so
do you know what the data says about like, and then actually maybe a certain portion of that audience then does get excited and goes and buys the game themselves?
You would have to assume it's significant enough that they wouldn't be investing so much marketing into it. Like,
right.
They're paying I mean, maybe not specifically with Final Fantasy, but broadly speaking, publishers are paying influencers to promote their games because of this. So I don't have specific numbers, but like that is a very obvious conclusion to come to, and it's
I agree.
So I do think the games need to be made to be more engaging and fun to play, to make play a more compelling alternative to passive streaming. But on the whole, fundamentally, passive stream watching is a completely different activity from game playing. And those who are doing one while they're on the toilet or at work or whatever, we're not spending that time actively playing the game anyway. And so,
yeah, I think for me, it's like this is definitely a solution to this of like trying to make players feel more ownership over their experience. But I mean, I think that's more important for reasons that are bigger issues, where it's like, hey, one of the things about playing games is it can become a social currency, and you get to take your experience and go talk to your friends about it, and any sort of thing where you'd be like, here's what happened to me, and this really cool thing happened. Did that happen to you? And they can either say yes or no, but either way, if they're excited about it and you're thinking about that because you're a director who's worried about this aspect of it, and you come up with some great ways for people to like have those stories to tell one another, I think that's going to benefit your games on multiple levels. So. Yeah, that does not mean like, I saw someone being like, I like my linear RPGs. I don't want bloated open world and stuff like that. It's like, the creativity needs to happen somewhere in between that for a lot of these games, especially like a Final Fantasy, which would not necessarily make a lot of sense as a completely different kind of RPG where you are making your own character or something like that.
Right.
But like just thinking about that stuff, be creative, and that team has the capacity to do exactly that.
And I think across the of trying to reach people that are choosing to watch streams instead of playing games, doing anything that bloats the game more is gonna just bite them in the butt. Like and I say this as an incredibly biased. I prefer, and we're gonna talk about this with Gears of War in a moment, I prefer the slightly shorter games because it means I can actually complete them alongside everything else that I want to do. When you take one game and explode it to 3 giant long games, that exponentially scales down my capacity to play it as they scale up the scope of the game. So I know not everyone's in that camp, but the 200, 500,000 hour per game gamers are actually the minority, not the norm.
Yes, definitely. But you were saying you like your shorter games. Hey, bad news. Gears of War E-Day could be the longest one ever. This is from Andrew Heighton at Insider Gaming in an article by IGN. The company spoke to Gears of War E-Day's creative director, Matt Searcy, about the new shooter. The FPS sequel, it's not a first-person shooter, doesn't use AI, which is always nice to hear, and the campaign itself is still a fairly linear affair, opting not to include more open-world elements of freedom that many modern games are choosing. In fact, Gears 5 had a little bit of that, like, right around on the thing. It seems like they're not going to like try to expand that into something. However, the game's campaign length is arguably one of the standout points. Searcy said Gears of War E-Day is longer than any campaign the Coalition has built, at over 14 hours, with more collectibles than it's ever had before in a campaign. Of course, this includes the classic COG tags. The Coalition took over Gears of War duties in 2015, with 2016's Gears of War 4 being the first one under the company stewardship. Typical Gears of War campaigns are like, they do kind of max out at 12 hours. Now, at the same time, PR statements like this always overestimate. They always say way more. I bet this game comes in at like 11 to 12 hours as well. Hey, that sounds great to me, and you're pretty excited about this game.
Yeah, having more collectibles than ever before in the literal same sentence as it's our longest campaign over 14 hours. That tells me that's the how long to get everything time, not the raw play time. And so
right.
I don't care about how many collectibles there are, especially when they don't influence the game. Like, it's different going from this to like from Halo's here's our skulls and all the different ways you can play the game to
Right.
we got more dog tags you can pick up, guys. It's gonna be, or like little info lore drops, like whatever. But yeah, like 14 hours, even if that is the length, it's only a couple hours longer than the average of the other campaigns. It's not that. That's still concise enough. For me, the length itself doesn't matter as long as it feels concise and like I'm going with it, especially for what's supposed to be a linear story of sorts. If it feels like it's dragging on or loaded because I'm supposed to walk around this area and find things or whatever that is out of place for the game, then that's going to suck. But if they're not trying to go to the open world land, then I think it's going to be fine. Like, sure, a couple extra hours, that's great. As long as it's not Metal Gear Solid 4, we're good. Like,
exactly. Yeah, I might be a little bit surprised just because this game was I don't want to say a quick turnaround, but they feel like they no, they were working on 2 other games just a few years ago, and they scrapped those to really focus on this game, and now it's here. But that's the Coalition. That is a pretty well-run studio, especially after the Gears 5 kind of whipped them into shape. I know they had a lot of people come in and do exactly that, and they're the Unreal masters over at Microsoft, so they know what they're working with. It's not like the technology was going to hold them back. So I guess I shouldn't be too surprised that they were able to get this game out and make it look pretty cool in that trailer. I'm definitely interested to see what this game is going to be like when we finally get it in our hands. Yeah. Last story here, last headline. Valve will stop producing physical Steam gift cards because of scammers. This is from Anna Washenko at Engadget. Valve will not be renewing its stockpile of physical gift cards for Steam. The gaming company anticipates that the cards will be completely gone from retailer shelves by the end of 2026. In an update to one of its support pages, Valve explained that it is making the change in response to scammers. Using gift cards to con people out of money has become a common enough trend that the Federal Trade Commission has an FAQ about the practice. In Valve's case, it seems the business is escalating steps to curb gift card scams to like help it come to an end. The idea here being someone calls up an old person or whatever and says, hey, there's a problem with your account and you need to pay us back in Steam gift cards. And the person goes, wait, what's Steam? They're like, oh, it's a money transferring thing or whatever. And these people go out and buy Steam gift cards, and then they tell the codes to the person over the phone. I'm sure you've seen the videos of YouTubers like busting these guys. It's a great time. It's one of our great pastimes is messing with these people. But they're still out there doing it a lot, to the point where companies could say something like, we don't want to do these gift cards anymore. Yeah. At the same time, it's like, we know this is probably a little bit about covering their ass. It's also my controller just fell over. It's probably a little bit also, it costs them money to sort of like work with the FTC and work with regulators and work with the people who have been scammed and to get people's money back. And Valve just doesn't want to deal with that anymore. That's a cost that they don't want to deal with. And it's like, so the person who's buying a gift card legitimately, the person who doesn't want to go get a credit card or doesn't have easy access to banking and gets paid in cash and wants to go to the corner store and buy a Steam gift card so they can come home and play a Steam game, they're going to have a worse experience now or have to jump through hoops because of the worst actors. Yeah. Because Valve really wants to save money. That's the bummer of this situation to me, Adie.
Yeah, and gift cards are always like good stocking stuffers, like good, easy gift things, especially for kids. Like, it stinks. I understand, like, they probably lose a ton of money, both in trying to reimburse people and whatever. Like, I understand, and I'm sure there's plenty of data to say at this point that physical gift card purchases are probably through the floor. Like, no, compared to 20 years ago, I'm sure it's hardly anything anymore. But it just sucks. It's a weird, almost delayed reaction because this has been a problem for so long that, like, I guess it's still such a. It's one of those things where, like, anyone who knows about it and is like, it's so normal for us. We're like, of course that's a thing that happens now, but like, it's surprising that it's still such a big problem because it's already permeated so much like conversation that, I mean, every gift card section I've seen at stores has big O signs of like, do not buy these to, like, if someone on the phone told you to or whatever, because like most places are trying to, especially because people will take the gift cards back to the store and the store can't do anything about it. Like they can't help. And so it's surprising that we're at that point. It is disappointing that we're losing that option. I'm not surprised, and it's just something like bad actors ruin it for everyone for now. So like we just got a deal, I guess. I would like to hope that they come back, but these kinds of things never come back once they go away. So
yes,
probably not. But
probably not. Yeah, I was. I just like sent a message to Matt Piscatello on Blue Sky, who would know actually how many Steam gift cards sell. That's one of the things they track over there.
Yep.
So I would be interested to hear, like, is this still a pretty big business? My gut tells me it's probably significant, but you're right, probably has shrunk significantly over the last 20 years. People like to pay with cash still. They like to control that stuff. People were used to it, and there's a lot of people on Steam, so I bet it's significant. But to Valve, probably less so. And they expect that, they looked at the numbers on the bar graph and like, the cost of maintaining this versus the cost we get or the revenue we make is, those lines don't make sense anymore. So let's just shut it off. And I think it's unfortunate that we can't find some solution that would keep convenience in place for people who have grown used to that over the last, since Steam launched. And it's just, real bummer.
I hope they do the bar graph to determine when it's time to stop shipping Steam Decks in very obvious labeled packaging that UPS employees like to steal, because it feels like that's been a problem that they just refuse to address. And it's like, that one probably costs you a lot more money when it's big hardware versus a gift card they can just like nullify. But
The first time my UPS guy back in Colorado ever said hi to me was when I got my Steam deck, a review kit, a review model sent to me, and he knew about that. He's like, "This is from Valve, huh? What is this?" I'm like, "Okay, come on, buddy, give me that." All right, that does it for the headlines, everybody. We have a poll question from yesterday. Do we actually post this one this time? I think we might have. Let's check here. I'm going to refresh and make sure we got all that up there. Yeah, what do you want from a new 3D Sonic game? Sonic Frontiers 2 or something else? I want Sonic Frontiers 2. I'm not afraid to admit that. 29% of people agree with me. 71% want something else. Now, obviously, that's like something else probably was always going to win here because you can kind of imagine whatever else you want there. I guess I'm a little impressed that actually Sonic Frontiers 2 was even able to manage almost a third of responses here. I think they're probably going to do a Sonic Frontiers 2 next, but I could be wrong. Adie, you a Sonic fan at all?
Loosely. I was the Sonic Adventure 2 battle and Shadow the Hedgehog kid, so I'll take an Adventure 3, or as being written in the comments, Adventure with the E being the 3. I'll take that.
Yeah, that's also, I'm sure that's what people are imagining when they said something else. All right, that does it for the poll question. No new poll question because we are going to be doing the Bomb 12 here to wrap up the week. We'll get to that here in a second, so let's take care of everything else. Let's start with you, Adie. Why don't you tell people once again where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, tell them about the Jam Packed again and all that.
Yeah, so EposVox for tech-related content these days been living mostly over on lost saves, as in, your memory card corrupted or Forza Horizon 6 decided to eat your save, YouTube as well, and then my magazine Jam Packed available over at glitch.mov, my shop. Cool little indie gaming mag I'm working on with game reviews, tips on how to get the most out of gaming budget-wise, and I'm jamming it packed, hence the name, wink, wink, full of whatever I can come up with to not just be game reviews, because those are fun, but no one cares about them anymore as I'm learning, so I'm trying to find... I have lots to say. I am a very verbose person, so lots of stuff in there, and very cool high-res screenshots and everything like that, so very excited for that.
I think it's just the coolest, man. So yeah, let's just say the store URL one more time.
Glitch.mov, like the file extension.
Excellent. All right. That is out of the way. Let's see here. We got giant bomb stuff happening today. UPF. We're going to be putting that together here real soon for you, everybody. I think we're going to be doing that at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We're going to play some Marvel Rivals. I think Jan wanted to check out Cyclops. Maybe a couple other things. We'll let you guys know. Between then and now, we won't have anything live, but we got plenty of stuff to check out on the website right now, including the endurance run continuing. Me and Mike played through Bully. Go check that out. There's a lot of other stuff popping up all the time. And then, of course, we had all of our GB at Night shows from Summer Game Fest. If you haven't watched those yet, those are on the website now. Go check them out. All right, let's see here. I think with that out of the way, let's do it. It's time for the Bomb 12, everybody. These are the 12 games that really matter to people who are really playing video games. Jan, thank you so much for updating the images. You're a hero. Let's start with number 12, Ace Combat 6, Skies Unknown. Okay, you guys are making that. I was expecting Ace Combat 7 to be on there, but all right, Ace Combat 6 is popping up instead. Number 11 is Mafia: The Old Country. Number 10 is Slay the Spire 2. Number 9 is Hades 2. Number 8, Pragmata. Number 7 is Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, which I've been playing more of. Surprisingly good. Number 6 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which just launched on Switch 2. People must be picking up that version. Is that 7? Okay, Ace Combat 7, Skies Unknown. I might have just written 6 and not known any better. It was that kind of morning. Hell yeah. Number 5 is Destiny 2. Number 4 is Marathon. Number 3 is Forza Horizon 6. Number 2 is 007 First Light. And that means number 1 is Mina the Hollower, now that it had a full first week of sales that people can actually get in there and play it. But yeah, I'm playing 007 First Light still. I'm going to try to beat that game. I'm at the very end, Adie. It was a very good game. What are you playing right now?
Just wrapped up Luna Abyss. I'm still going for all the collectibles on that. Had some good fun with that. I've gotten annoyingly back into Overwatch with my wife. We've been dumping a little more time into it. They've really cleaned it up from last year, I hate to say.
It just launched a new character, right? Like just again, like the 51st character, I think. Yeah.
We jumped in last year and I was just like, there's too much new stuff. I don't know what's going on. I can't play this. And for whatever reason this year, I'm just like, get it now. I'm back. So got all the 10-year anniversary stuff going on. And then I am super stoked about to launch into Pragmata, at least until Halo comes out.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's the Bomb 12 out of the way. We're going to put up a new Bomb 12 form for you all. So here's how it works. Go to giantbomb.com. If you scroll down, you can see the most recent Bomb 12. Go over to the left of that. There's a vote here button. That's going to take you to the Google form. Just tell us what game you're playing. We'll collate that, get it all added up, get it all listed out for you for next week's Bomb 12 to wrap up next week, which we will do on Thursday because we're going to be off next Friday. So a little bit shorter. So get your votes in early, everybody. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting back to work next week. But for now, it's time to wrap things up. Adie, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I love doing this.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, for watching, for listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.